Hey everyone, I have had a couple of requests to break down this track that I posted a couple of days ago, so I'm going to do it. Here's what it sounds like. All right, so you get the point. Those are all just different variations of the same pattern. So I'm just going to go in track by track and do a little walkthrough. So I'm going to mute everything else. Excuse me. So first we got the kick drum. Pretty basic. That's just one of the stock kick drums on the Deconstruct Minimal. I've probably done, so this device has a synthesized kick engine and a synthesized snare engine. So I did a little bit of tweaking on the preset, but this is just based on one of the kick presets. So yeah, nothing too exciting there. And let's see, next we have, it's again also just a stock sample of a little cymbal on the offbeat. Pretty self-explanatory. Next up we got our snare, so there's a little bit more going on here. So you hear there's kind of variations in the snare hits. Let me show you what's going on there. If I go to the snare track, as you can see, it's going through the sequence slower than it did on the kick. And some of these hits, like this one, it's doing it's doing multiple hits. So on the Deconstruct Minimal, and you can do this on lots of groove boxes, on the Deconstruct Minimal, you can set how quickly the pattern plays. You always get a 16-step pattern. It can only be 16 steps, but you can have it play slower and at half or a quarter speed, and you can do something they call ratchets, where you have one individual hit on one step. If you hold it and you twist the value button, this is off because that's not ratcheted. But if you go through, if you turn this knob, then it divides the step into 4 different steps basically, and then you can do different patterns of how it's going to play the hits on those steps. So here's what it sounds normally. Okay, but if I ratchet this like that, then we get, okay, or we can do something like that. So that's how I got these variations to some of these snare hits. Oh, and on the Deconstruct Minimal, the way that you set it, the way you get this pattern to play slower is you hold function and go to drum if it's a drum track. You select which drum track, and it's the snare drum here. And then up there you see it says length 16. You can change the length with that, but you can also scroll through and change what they call note. This basically are these quarter notes, 16th notes, eighth notes. This essentially just controls how quickly it plays through these 16 steps. So I had it set to 4. So, all right, we've got that, and let's see what's next. Our clap. I think our clap is pretty basic. As you see it, yeah. So I have this one playing at half speed, so I can get variations in these clap hits. What I did here is this is just a normal clap. That one you hear, it's got the delay. So what I just did there is I automated the delay. I held down, so if you click clear, if you hold clear, you can see how that's green. That means there's automation on this step. All I did was held this down and twisted the delay knob. I don't know what it was at. Let's say it's probably pretty high. And then for this, no delay there, and then get the delay on that one. So you do that. Let's see. I think our hi-hats are pretty straightforward here. Only thing of note is that one thing I really like about the Deconstruct Minimal is that excuse me, got a sore throat today. One thing I like about this machine, it has this random level knob for every track. And this will just introduce some randomization into the velocity, the volume of whatever the track is. And actually, if you look through the manual, I saw the the amount of randomization it applies at its maximum value is actually different from track to track. I believe it is a higher degree of randomization on the hi-hats than, say, the kick drum. But you can twist it to taste. So it's you can dial it in to where you want it to be. And then let's see. I think our open hats. I think it's just another closed hat. Let me mute some of these other tracks. Nothing too special there. And then what do we have next? Oh, and I should mention, everything you've heard so far is a stock sound. This is all from the stock library on the Minimal. So what are we on? So these 4 tracks are all sample based, these 4 tracks. A lot of the tracks here are sample based. These 4 you can load in custom samples that you have recorded or imported. Just a little trivia. But that's not what you're hearing now. This is just a regular rim. And I've got some delay on there, just on the whole thing. Nothing too special. Just a pattern that I dialed in and liked. What do we have? So this is the bass. Sorry. I'll put kick in the snare. And that bass hit is just a stock sound, again included in the device. You can, with any track, any sound you have on here, if you enter keyboard mode, you can play it chromatically across this keyboard. So that's all I did there. And just an octave at the end there. Alrighty, what else do we have?
Such a babe.
Oh, this is a vocal sample.
Such a babe.
So
such a babe.
This is a sample from. This is a sample from the film 10 Things I Hate About You. So I actually clipped it a little bit. Let me go to the full sample here.
Such a babe. Such a babe. Such a babe.
So you can play chromatically again. I think.
Such a babe. Such a babe.
The attack when you've selected a sample, when you're on one of these sample tracks, the attack and decay affect the start and end point of the sample. So I'm going to just bring this all the way to the beginning and that all the way to the end, so you can hear the full sample.
He was like such a babe. He was like such a babe.
I believe that's the original pitch.
He was like such a babe.
But I liked it a little bit tuned up, and then I just cut off the beginning. So
he was like such a babe. He was like such a babe. Such a babe.
And actually, I want to just get that a little more exact.
Such a babe.
Ooh, I want it to be like, ooh, such a babe. Ooh, such a babe. All right, so let's do.
Such a babe. Like such a babe. Such a babe.
There we go.
Such a babe.
So it's kind of like the speech has kind of a rhythm to it that matches the rhythm of the song. And also you can see here that I changed the speed at which this plays through. So
such a babe. Such a babe. Such a babe.
Because I didn't want it on this last cycle.
Such a babe.
Alrighty. And then this one, so this is the loop track. This track functions a little bit differently on the Minimal than the other tracks. This is mainly for percussive or melodic loops that are just meant to play through the entire sequence. So this was just a random sample I found on my computer. It's just scratchy stuff, and it happens to kind of sound in rhythm with the song. So let me actually mute these. So it just gives it a little bit of a kind of a shuffle. And then, before I bring in the bass and talk about that, I'll just play all of this without the, actually let me rephrase. Before I bring in the bass synthesizer track, let me just play everything else I've got so far.
Such a babe. Such a babe. Such a babe.
And the reason I said bass synthesizer track is because I do have a bass sample here that I showed you earlier. That is different than the bass synthesizer track. This machine has essentially 10 drum tracks But you can load which samples you want into those drum tracks. And then it has this one bass synthesizer track, track 11. So technically this song, you could say it has two bass lines. In acid bass, in acid house, you often have a bass line performing what would often be like the lead function in another song. So that's kind of why this song has two different bass lines technically. We got the sample based one.
Such a babe.
And then we have the bass synthesizer. So let me mute everything else just so you can hear that. This machine lets you have 4 different variations of a pattern that you've made. So I'm just going to go through each of the variations. All right, so here's how that works. Let's go to our bass track. All right, you probably notice a lot of sort of moving and kind of a rhythmic change to how this sounds across the pattern. You get a that's my impression of a synthesizer. So let me show you exactly what's going on here. If I hold clear, you can see all of these steps are green. And that's going to be same probably on all of these variations. Maybe, yeah, so we got a couple that aren't. But basically, all of these hits are green, which means I have recorded knob automation onto it. So I'm going to kind of do this a little bit in backwards. I'm going to clear all of this automation. So if you hold clear and then just touch it, it goes back to green. So this is what the bass track sounds like without any automation recorded. That's obviously a lot different, right? Now, even if we don't do any automation, we still have a lot of room to change how this bass line sounds. So this is what all of these knobs up here affect various parameters of the bass synth. And these knobs are always active. Even if you have another track selected, you can modify the bass via these, which is pretty cool. So I'm just going to twist some of these and give you an idea of how drastically you can change the sound of the bass synth without doing any automation. So you really get a lot of room to shape the sound via these parameters. You also have some room down here. So it has a couple different bass synth engines, or waveforms, I guess. The default is a saw. I always like to go with a saw wave for my 303 style basses. It's just me. But you can also use a square. And obviously that's going to gives it a much different sound. You've got a triangle, which isn't, you can hardly hear that. Not all that useful for this type of music, but it's there if you need it. You have a rectangle, which is I think it's kind of a pulse wave. I think that one sounds pretty cool. Then you get this one that's called SO1, where I think it's, I think it's the move knob. No, it's the attack. Yeah, okay, so the attack knob, when you have this specific sound selected, if you move the attack knob, it blends between two different waveforms. It says it's between a saw and a square. I don't know, that last one, that doesn't sound like a saw to me. Let's see what this sounds like compared to the original song. Yeah, so I don't exactly know what this is blending between, but you can, it does give you some room to shape it. And then finally, you can change the gate. You can change how long it plays each note. So check this out if I turn the gate all the way down. Versus if I turn it long. Okay, and then there's one more way before you do any automation, that you can change the sound of the bass synth on this thing, which is via accents and glides. Hit that button. I don't have any accents on here, but I do have 2 glides. You hit it once to go into accents, and you can plug in accents. Actually, let me turn this up a bit. You can hear it sounds a little bit different. Let me try to... So it gives it just kind of a harder feel if you put an accent in it. But what's doing the work on my pattern here is the glides. Listen to what the bass sounds like as it gets to these 2 steps. Now here's what it sounds like without it. So it just, the glides just combines the 2 notes together. So it glides into sort of does a sort of a legato or portamento into one or the other. All of that out of the way. I still haven't added the secret sauce to what makes this bass line sound cool, and that's the knob automation. So you can record knob movements to the sequencer just by turning them while it's playing while you hit record. And so the main one I did here, there we go. That's back to our original waveform. The main knob I did here, and this tends to work pretty well with bass lines on this machine, is the cutoff frequency. So I'm just going to hit record play and then modulate this knob just randomly. Let's just quickly do a before and after. Okay, that's before. Now let's do some automation. All right, so that sounded wonky and weird, but listen when I play it back. Listen to the rhythmic nature of how this sound is changing over the course of the 16-step pattern. You hear it's going like... It's kind of like... It's because each step, this knob has a different value. And so it's kind of jumping between those values. This is something worth noting on this machine specifically. When you record automation via the knobs, it does not record the change between any 2 steps. It just records the value on each step and jumps between them as it plays. On the one hand, that's a bummer because you can't get smooth automation. On the other hand, I actually really like it because it creates this cool effect where it's kind of like stuttering between the different cutoff frequencies. So let me do this again. Technically, I could just do this once and get the job done, but let's see what we got. So I like that, except I don't love the sound in that portion, so I'm going to re-record just there. That's really cool. Let me add some drums in just so you get a feel for how this is working rhythmically. That's part of it, but we're not done yet. We can also automate anything. So let's try the resonance, envelope, and decay knobs. So hit record, now we're recording automation. All right, so I don't know if I love that squeak that's going on there. It's right there. Let's just turn that resonance down. I think that sounds really cool. There's one more step. No, let's bring in some of the other drums and see how this sounds kind of in context. I think that sounds pretty cool. And there's one other thing we can automate. Actually, well, there's a lot of other things we can automate. Let's see what it sounds like if we modulate the gate. Remember, this is what it sounds like with the gate all the way down. All right, let's try automating this. Another thing that really can add a lot here is automating the delay send. This machine has a delay sort of return track and a reverb return track. So let's modulate. As of now, it's not sending anything to the delay. I'll just for fun, I'll play it. This is what it would be like if we had it sending everything to the delay on every step. I mean, I think that's pretty cool, but I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to change this timing so it... That's cool, but it's going to get pretty muddy at some point with the delay is going to kind of start overtaking the original dry signal. So we're just going to automate this a little bit. All right, that didn't work. Let's try this one more time. So there, it's sending that tail to the delay, and it's kind of ringing out through the beginning of the pattern. But it's not sending everything to the delay, so we can still kind of comprehend what this bass line is. And again, if we want to get rid of this automation, just hold clear and do that. One thing, as far as I can tell on this device, if you clear the automation that way, it clears every automation. It clears the cutoff, resonance, everything you've done. So I don't know if there's a way to just clear one parameter, but this is, so right now though, I cleared it, we're back to the original. All right, I'm getting, something's wrong here. All right, there we go. So let's just do this one more time just for fun. Yeah. So, you can really get some cool, like, happy accidents. I'm really into music that lets you explore and discover new sounds as well as create them with intention. And when you can kind of find a happy medium between the two, then that's for me, that's the sweet spot. And this machine is just great for this. I think Sonicware did a really good job with this groove box. There's a couple little things that I hope get fixed in firmware updates, but in general, this is just an awesome machine to write out a certain subset of electronic music. This thing is really perfect for it. So, yeah, anyway, that's how I went about the track. And I just did the same thing on all of these other tracks too. All these different variations up here. So. Without the automation, it is. I mean, and this is actually another good kind of example of how that this last hit is just one long, not that cool to listen to. But if we put some automation in, because it's going to have a different value for each step, then we suddenly get a bunch of variation. So. Anyway, that is the long and short of it. And I should say I've done all of this with having the bass overdrive on. It's essentially just a kind of a distortion amplifier that you can turn it on and off. Without it, it would sound like this. Just kind of beefs it up a little bit. So anyway, that is it. If you have any more questions about this, I'm happy to answer them. I'm going to hopefully be posting a lot more jams on this thing soon. But in the meantime, thanks for listening. And yeah, hope you are having an excellent day.